We'll see what happens here. There we go. Back onto the pistol. SoaR making their play over towards A. Sentry turret will be what reveals this play. And S2P getting very aggressive in the middle of the map. 4 players stacked here. Sentry turret will be deleted. And instead of fully pushing through, they're going to try to back away. But Xander, who's watching the flank, will find first blood. Spike will be planted very quickly. Denya also trying to cut off a rotation through Garden. There could be point of contact here with Bossy. Danny making their way through. Actually finds a couple. Wait a second in the back. Denya's able to find one. Tailwind's away. Oh, it's going to be SoaR on the other POV. Gonna lock down the kill, leaving nerfed by themselves. 1v2 situation. Gets a read on Bancroft, but cannot get away from said Bancroft. And S2P's aggression does eventually pay off for a retake.
Wow. that was certainly a round. I mean, what we kind of got to see everything we've spoken about. SoaR being decisive, them going straight in, the fast plant. S2P also being pugnacious, willing to fight. You know, they want to get in on it. And ultimately that worked out for them, because I think a lot of that fight that was going up on in Rafters and in Window just got very messy. They had to expend a lot of utility to things like the cloud burst to try and deny a lot of that vision, even though everybody was in very close quarters, and it does get incredibly brutal in those kinds of situations. I like the approach though from SoaR. I don't know if they're going to do the exact same thing. I mean, it does look like they're preparing to maybe go towards A, but they have left the spike behind, so...
Wow, this is so much damage from Danny. I mean, you're going to exchange a little bit of your health for a proper spray down and shock dart to engage onto what was Xander. Spike was never a part of this play. This is the one place that we saw Ghost Gaming. They really held off the brakes from ever going B on their offense just simply because of Danny's position. That will not be the case here from SoaR. They have not fully given up B main, still throwing some consideration that direction, but as the spike is picked up, they'll instead actually make some progress through the middle of the map.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of their attention is on mid, but, you know, up towards mid-market where Miniature is right now, they haven't cleared that out, and they're going to have to work together if they want to make that happen. How goes the decoy? And look at this positioning from John as well. They are aware of where he is. It looks like they are. Oh no, but they decide to forego the corner. He has to reload. He gets a second kill as well.
One enemy remaining.
No way.
Wow.
The help that comes through in the nick of time as well keeps John alive. That is absolutely 100% on Bossy. Never fully clears the corner. Saw him looking that direction, but never fully looks right. And maybe there could have been something tossed out for SoaR to, keep some free consideration that, hey, no one's going to be looking at me through B main, which is what eventually pulled the eyes of Bossy away from that corner. But that is an absolutely unexcusable 2 kills that you allowed John to have. Now, granted, again, we expect that S2P will win that round because of their favored economy, but you clear that corner properly, that's an SMG that you could pick up, and you could actually potentially still find success on the B with that opening kill.
I mean, I'll be honest, the fact that he got the second kill is what blew me away. I totally expected him to get the first once I saw that they hadn't cleared the corner. The second one, there's no way that the attackers should have missed that shot, and yet they did. And that one's going to sting for a while. But nevertheless, you have to move on to the next round. And you can see that they've gone for this mid control very early.
There'll be no initial check here for Miniature. We'll keep the gate crash teleport alive. Aldrone will scout this out, has to give up the position. But careful here, you're still revealed. Throwing out the blind side to try to stall off this play. A decoy even as well, getting thrown to the mix. John, you feel like is calling the, hey, I need the help, but or does he? Finds himself one, grabs another miraculous second. SoaR, so the mix will grab the third and fourth. And well, the spike was never a part of this play, but it's going to be Xander in a 1v5. Will find the first relatively cleanly. This is still doable. Left. Defense is quickly trying to rotate. The gravity well. That's going to feel awful. Not a lot you can do here besides just hard commit, which the vulnerability will fade off. Danny holding the right corner will reveal their position. Second gravity well also used, but Xander stays alive through this.
10 seconds
Sentry
left.
turret down, spike will be planted. This would be a 1v5. This would be a full-on ace. don't want to speak it too much into existence, but a lockdown could come down if Xander wants to clear a little bit of space, but I think that may have been the call. Just could not quite get all the way back into the archway as Miniature finds the kill. S2P will go up 3-0.
Here.
Definitely a hard situation. I mean, everything that happened over at A, I don't think John was even expecting to get 2 kills there in Tree. I don't think he originally knew that there were 2 people in there. It just so happened that the opportunity presented itself. Yeah, there we go. And actually, that's the second time that Bossy has just walked straight in through a door without checking the corners now.
That one a bit more excusable than the first, though.
Yes, I will give him that. But it still happened. And especially if you're playing entry, you know, entry doesn't necessarily mean first person through the door to get killed. Usually it means try and be the first person to get a kill.
Okay, this is an interesting opening setup. So the Nebula go up top to deny the elevation. And the Nova Pulse try to allow Miniature a chance to find a kill, which they do. Danny's also found some spam shots for an elimination, and SoaR. I mean, we said this before, but they are looking lost on this offense. Now, granted, again, they are on an eco. They're just trying to make something happen, but Denya, as he tries to aggress through the middle of the map, is denied. Just comes down to Bossy. 1v5. Any repurchase that you can force would be fine. Can you hit the shot? Patience. Not enough. Bancroft finds the kill. Flawless round for S2P, now up 4.
Yeah, SoaR are really struggling with their offense. I think a lot of it comes down to the kind of geography of the map here. You know, every time they've tried to push in through mid, they've really struggled to push northwards. You know, they've never really made it all the way up to mid-market. You've got to bear in mind that Cubby's right behind you, and there's always been defensive presence on A too. So then they go for B main, and they don't really have anything coming in from another direction or angle, and that just gets straight away punished. So they're failing to capitalize on the fact that there are all these different dimensions and angles, and instead that's going to S2P.
Want to talk about dimensions? How about the dimensional drift? Miniature, oh, he never looked into the mid connector. I was about to say, he's got plenty of channel on this trip still, but was so hard focused on the 2 players deep, never fully committed to using the gate crash to get back. And now you're in a 5v3 where SoaR are probably sitting there saying, well, thank you very much. Sofa will find 1. Nebula will come through. Chance for a second. That is a completely individual pick, and Sofa gets a 3rd at range. Oh, my goodness. What was initially a folly from Summon to Prove has now turned into stark and surprising success.
And I mean, look at this. Look at the line of sight that's being held straight down from mid-market by Danny. He's actually going to send out his recon bolt. Xander has to cross this if he wants to pick up the spike. I don't suspect that's what he's actually aiming to do at this point. He just wants to get a couple of kills. He kind of needs to.
30 seconds
SoaR have
left.
been lacking so much. They are behind on economy. They're behind on round count. They're behind on basically everything that you can be. There's no real way for him to get the spike unless he's just gonna try and run over.
I got the
Okay.
Yeah, the problem is Sofa. Say Sofa was the problem the entire time playing that far back. So 4 kills in the round, 3 of them unbelievable from Sofa. Initially off this dimensional drift, I mean, Mini never looks to his left on that push through, and he thought, oh my goodness, that is a free B site. But instead of pushing through B main, SoaR decide to back up into the middle of the map, and Sofa says, thanks for giving us the round back.
Don't give up space. Don't give up space if you have it. And you know, this is the thing when it comes down to respecting opponents and whatever. And you can argue what is the right percentage of respect that you should be giving to an opponent. But I think something that people can kind of universally agree on is that you should always be the team that's setting the pace. Because as soon as you allow your opponent to set the pace, you're playing their game and you're playing to their rules. And that's a really good example, that past round, of what happens when you allow that to be the case. You give them the space they need for the control. You simply can't do that. You know, when you break video games down, it becomes very simple, and it's often like, in order to execute objective blah, you need to hold control of space blah. And when you look at it from a fundamental lens that is just that basic, it oftentimes explains a lot of what goes wrong for teams.
Oy. Well, tactical pause here for SoaR, as they'll go into this next round, likely with what you see on screen. Just Sander on a solo Phantom. Everybody else on pistol upgrades. Denny will likely pop the Bladestorm as soon as the round starts. On the opposite side, though, I mean, just look at the bank accounts. I mean, everyone is very healthy at the moment, including the operator of John, which, you know, when we were watching them play versus Ghost Gaming, we were kind of questioning how much value is John really getting off this op. Well, so far, he's found himself at least a great game. He's 6-1, Sofa's 7-0. I mean, this has all been peaches for Summon to Prove, largely outside of the little folly that Miniature just had on the Yoru Dimensional Drift.
Yeah, and let's also bring up the fact that Danny is really enjoying the Odin today, or at least on this map. Oh yeah, no, for sure. I mean, if you're a fan of taking your anger out on walls, perfect gun, and he's been doing a lot of that.
We'll restart, and we'll see exactly what will be in the fold here of what's been talked about for SoaR.
Deploying drone.
There's that Bladestorm as mentioned. And he's just looking for one tag. As soon as he sees one player, he's going. But unfortunately, the gate crash once again keeps Miniature alive, if only just barely. Only one knife for Denny to play with. Sofa, meanwhile, finds first blood. That's down over through B main. Nova Pulse comes out. Denny just has to hit headshot. Trying to chase down Sofa. Ready for it. Misses. Now it's just down to the classic. Meanwhile, Mini has found another elimination. It's a 5v3 in favor of SGP's defense.
Still looking for what he can get. Player gets kill onto Miniature. John, there's that operator coming out, but you've just got one player on the side of SoaR. That's Denya. He's failed, really, to get any of those necessary kills that he was hunting out. And you can see how desperately he was doing that through a lot of the round. Waiting for the Nebula to subside before he pushes forward. He has found himself a weapon, at least.
Try harder.
He's just going to get killed straight away by John. No information as to the whereabouts of those defenders. And that gives SUP another round. 6-0 is brutal to look at.
We talked their defense was really good versus Ghost Gaming. We're starting to see that again, and maybe one of the reasons why Ghost decided not to go B anymore early on. Trying to find some wiggle room over towards A. Maybe SoaR thinking about the same thing. You've got, is this the first run it back we've seen from Boss? Yeah, it sure is. Unbelievable. You figure that's going to be what's execution call to get onto a site. Just comes down to when and where.
Well, the thing with run it backs is you don't have to check your corners in order to survive them.
That's fair, but oh my goodness. Bossy actually saves his own life by hitting the run it back to avoid the third dart. The Gravity Well Hunter's Fury combination was a brilliant start. And then beyond that, not only do you find some damage, you essentially force Bossy to have to go into a run it back to save their own life, as I think there was a second Gravity Well that was placed.
You should run.
Blindside comes out. Mini will not check this. Instead, actually, gate crashes all the way back towards friendlier confines of the defensive spawn. Lockdown has been placed offensively for SoaR. Dimensional Rift could still come down. John misses the first shot. Just barely gets out of detainment range. Mini down low, also staying safe. Blindside comes out. Long-range shots are great. Finds the first, not the second. 4v4 situation. Spike Carrier has been dropped. That's easily collected. And now Cryo makes his move on. Nerf finds one. Keeps their life. Spike will successfully be planted. And for the 3v3 post plant, you've got a Hunter's Fury if you want it. And John is actually going to go ahead and call. Let's go into the Bladestorm with the lockdown. Lockdown will come through very quickly. Cryo forced to go into the Bladestorm. Or probably the Hunter's Fury, but it's the Bladestorm that does win the day. There were so many little nuances to that little post plant that, again, realistically for SoaR was just a bit sloppy.
I'll be honest, for me, the big point in that round is the fact that if you're using an attacker lockdown and you don't plant in that time, that is a disaster. Because at that point, you know, you mentioned the fact that they have the Hunter's Fury available for the post plant. Great, you shouldn't have ever had to get to that point.
Yeah.
Because you should have been able to clean up and capitalize on that lockdown. They didn't even plant during it. And maybe that's because they used at the lockdown at an inopportune time or whatever it may be, but it's still one of those kinds of pieces of utility that, in my opinion, if you're not getting value off of it, then that's not good.
It's just the other thing too, is like the lockdown where it's placed isn't going to encompass the entire site, so getting on is fine, but Cryo playing underneath heaven, and then the communication was clearly not there of how they were going to deal with the defensive lockdown, because he pulls out the Hunter's Fury for only one shot. I mean, that could have been your post plant sit down. Now Blindside's going to come through. Nerf does connect on a headshot, but Miniature still wins the gunfight. That leads to another early first blood. Denya responds through mid-market. Bancroft holding, scouting, but denied as Bossy finds a kill. So that'll be a weapon collected. A wide open B site means the spike can make its way on. We'll have a 4v3 in favor of SoaR.
Hey, they might actually be able to plant here, and it looks like that's going to be the likelihood. And as you mentioned, they've picked up weaponry, so it's a much healthier round for them. There is still the post-plant situation that needs to be done. Miniature is lacking on health as well, so that if he gets too close, could end up being an easy kill, and that's exactly what happens. Dead to the Odin. Now you just have these last two players who've got to come in from B main and spawn respectively.
Yeah, not gonna happen. They're gonna save on this one. So maybe an exit kill for John. Has to make sure he holds onto this op, though. This could be costly. He's got plenty of cash to buy another one, but you just don't want to give it away to Denya.
One enemy remains.
Sofa, good for a couple. Actually, they fully wiped. This is not enough time for a defuse, so I get it. It just feels still a little sloppy from SoaR. They're going to win this round, put it on the board, but you go back to the round previously, miscommunication on how they wanted to set up the post plant, what they wanted to use, how they're going to deal with the lockdown. And then this round, there's not a lot of communication on how exactly they wanted to exit. So it's still a punishing round nonetheless, as S2P can essentially just full purchase once more without any second consideration.
Yeah, I mean, it's great that SoaR got around on the board, but they got that because they went to the charity of S2P and asked for a round, and they humbly gave it to them. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, for sure.
And S2P still got all the kills required. They just didn't go in for the actual defusal. So, you know, it is sloppy, it is messy, and Xander's going to feel that one.
Was hoping that maybe the sentry turret would reveal anyone holding that corner. That was not the case, though, whatsoever. Mini? Thinking about peeking mid.
Decoy.
Decoy will go out. Not really going to provide much consideration from SoaR. They'll go check, as they do hear those footsteps. But they'll see nobody's here. No worries. And so now it's a 4v5 execute that has to come through for SoaR. And this is a pretty important round, all things told. I mean, you've got to find a way to at least get the spike planted if you want to try to afford going in the round afterwards.
You want to find it?
Cosmic Divide's going to cut off a lot of those defenders, but because mid is free, they could just come up from behind, which I imagine looks like is what's going to happen. John's going to take in the shots with the op. 5 versus 4 still, so the defenders do have the advantage, and the attackers are still yet to place down the spike.
Beyond that, Miniature used the dimensional drift already. That could have been great to scout out what exactly is happening over for this post-plant setup, but he uses it to try to maybe even contest the back flank, doesn't see anything, and now you're forced to just hit from the front. Nerf does get taken down on the flanks, so that's at least some good news. Dimensional Divide will come through. That will block off the archways in the back, but Bossy working on the flank has opened up some space. Curveball should find a lot of value, and it does. He grabs one, but not a second. Okay, so now it's just down to Denya all of a sudden. Not able to hear this. Checks, gets the kill. Is there enough time? No, didn't get to halfway. And that should be the round going the way of SoaR. Sure is. So second round on the board. Still a bit sloppy, but hey, at least they're finding W's all of a sudden.
It's slowly getting there.
It is.
Yeah, it's like, okay, they got a plant, but then everyone died. And then the next round, they got a plant, and not everybody died. And there was nearly a defuse, but actually they just managed to waste it just enough time that the defuse couldn't work. Which is, you know, I'm glad to see them having better fortune on their attacking rounds, but I don't think it's fast enough. On their defending.
Is it the speed, or is it just, you know, how exactly? I mean, the post plant is just we plant, we bunker up. There hasn't really been an exit strategy, it feels like, especially towards B.
I feel the same way. They seem to really be struggling with just this entire kind of part of the map, you know? But, you know, it looks like they're going to be heading towards A this time, so maybe things will change.
That is a very unfortunate run it back. The Nano Swarm will essentially negate all of it. At least it gains some space. But Bancroft has found one elimination. That's actually, again, by way of Nano Swarm. What is happening? That's going to be a lockdown that comes through defensively. SoaR are going to have to alleviate the site. And as they do, there are a couple of players that'll make sure there is no rotation over towards B. But on the exit, there was still elimination to keep things in a 4v4. So plenty of time to work with here. John, we'll see one. Denny responds with the Blade Storm. Big flash, but Bossy still completely whiffs. I don't know if he flashed himself or not, but it didn't look good from our POV. Denny, fortunately, able to recover the situation. 2v2. Full set of knives. Also a Phantom just in case. And Minnie's going to find a free kill here on the Cryo.
One enemy remaining.
Brilliant recon bolt to come through defensively. Danny's position has been made aware, but the bullet hose too strong of the Odin, and S2P will put themselves up 8-2.
I really, really wanted to see that them going to A would be the answer, or whatever it was. It's not. You know, as you said, the unfortunate run it back. There was so much utility expended, just absolutely everything coming out from everywhere. They really committed to that one early as well, and it looked like S2P simply read into that. You know, there was no kind of zigzagging across the map. There was no rotating on a major level or anything. It was simply an early commitment that was read into by the defenders. Utility was forced out, and that was kind of that. And being on 8-2 is really, really not a nice scoreline to be looking at.
Oh, no, not at all.
Well,
Especially
if you're SoaR.
You're looking at 9-2 here, probably.
Yes.
Unreal. I have not seen an Odin spam find this much value
One
in
enemy
months.
No.
I mean,
Oh,
months.
come on.
I mean, it's not new.
Last round in the half.
That strategy is about a year old. Oh my goodness. I mean, this is off the rip. Like, barriers drop. Man, I get that it's a round that you expect to win, but if you're SoaR, that round will leave you SoaR, if you know what I mean.
Here's the thing. Consider this. If you're using a strategy from last year, you don't have to give away any new strategies you can bring out later on.
200 IQ.
Exactly. That's exactly
No way.
it. Oh no.
It's gone from bad to worse here. Although SoaR have recovered pretty nicely with these engagements in the middle of the map. So it is a 3v2 situation. John has actually hit the Blade Storm, so as Nerf will make their way on, shuts the door on the play, and that's actually in just the nick of time because John was about to come behind this. Double updraft going over the top. Has an isolated moment here. If they can find the kill. Dives on in. Right click connects. 2v2 situation. Operator will deny the sentry. John's going to connect to this. Nano Storm will be activated. Hunter's Fury is going to come down. That's going to deny the offensive lockdown. And maybe even connect onto players. Not the case. No more Cloud Burst to deal with, though. You got to make a play forward. Cryo's going to be sitting over to the locked door. He's going to now go for the Hunter's Fury. But as the kill comes out into Xander, you can stick this if you're Danny. Maybe not. Awkward. But now you're going to delete halfway down to the defusal. Cryo's not going to check in. Are you kidding?
No charges left. Switching sides.
Well, that was a round. Would you agree?
How do you not check this? It's such a good start, you thought. With these opening eliminations, you work your way onto A freely. You've got a post plant setup. Once again, it's Cryo with the Hunter's Fury to lock things down. And you get one kill, but you should be able to hear that the spike was already halfway defused. Never checks.
For me, yeah, it's definitely...
One enemy.
It's like the cloud bursts go down, and they're trying to bait out what they can and not go straight in for the defuse. They don't get the player who's over on the other side of the site. After that should have been SoaR's opportunity to capitalize on that, and they didn't. And everything that happened after that, it was the same problem.
Well, better hear from SoaR. Find at least the opening engagement. Nano Storm and Denya will take down 2 more, so it's a very quick 4v2 situation. Danny off the frenzy here in the second half has done well. That'll get the spike planted. Man, I don't know if I'll be able to mentally shake off what just happened in that first half, but we'll have to try. S2P, 2v2 situation. John Gonna leave now Danny by themselves as he could not find the low HP member of Denya. So SoaR will win the pistol. That'll give them their third round, and that is a must-win round, obviously. You just don't want to go down to a point where you're 11-2 having to force buy. Now you've got a little bit of room to work with. I would not be surprised, though, if S2P, with the spike being down with the kills, go into a force buy maybe. They've done it before. I would not be surprised if they do it again, but they'll play this one a little bit more close to the chest.
I mean, I was thinking, you know, you say they needed to win this round. I think, at least mentally, they're going to be in that place for quite a few rounds.
Yeah.
But it is, of course, nice to see that SoaR actually did not only win that round, but they did it in quite a swift manner as well. I think that sets them up well mentally, at least from a confidence perspective, going into the rest. Bancroft looking like he's going to get aggressive, but
oh my goodness,
Bossy can get even more so. Just jumps straight in and capitalizes on that one.
The Nova Pulse play. Again, aggression from SoaR. Works out beautifully for him. 4v2 situation after everything is said and done. Defensively, nerfed. On the corner, hearing some footsteps. Denya up top. Good gravity well. Decent damage. Nerf takes advantage. Sofa trades, but not enough for two. So SoaR do take the expected round after the pistol. Puts them in a position to work. And I think the real question here is, do you maybe even force into a couple of ARs just to try to resist up against what's going to be coming from the side of S2P? It doesn't look that they really have enough economy to work that, but they do have enough to at least purchase Denya over to an operator, which could be the one little monkey wrench that could foil the entire system here for S2P.
Denya has looked very comfortable on the operator for a lot of what we've seen. Not only in this series so far, but the previous series back in the quarterfinals. And he has seemed to struggle when not having that available to him. So I would like to see that be, as you put them, as the monkey wrench, right? I would like to see that be the thing from which they can build. And we've seen S2P have that with John as well. So why shouldn't SoaR have the opportunity to do it again? It's getting rid of the turret as they're looking to push into the B side from mid-market. But Cryo is waiting for them.
Spike down B.
Oh, that is not great. Xander there to find the third. Backs up onto the site. Spike has obviously been mentioned to be down inside mid-market doors. Bancroft needs to win a gunfight or two, or maybe even three here, depending on how the peaks work out. Bossy, do you check your corner this time? No, he does not. But it's okay. Denya's there to make up fixes, and that will be enough for a 10-5. And still operator in hand. And even beyond that, with not letting the spike being planted, that'll actually put a very interesting dynamic into the mix economically, as it's going to have to be likely just pistol upgrades for STP.
For me, that round was an example of the negative side of S2P's attacking playstyle, which is something that we did see a bit when they were playing against Ghost, but it was actually more Ghost that was falling to it themselves. And that is that if you want to be too over-aggressive on your attack, then sometimes you're going to miss out on the opportunity to collect necessary information. And that was really vital for them when they pushed onto B through mid-market. They just walked into a meat grinder because they hadn't thought or considered to go and find that intel first.
Interesting take here. Miniature is actually the one carrying the spike. Gets on by way of gate crash. But Nerf has the smallest of angles to work through. Nebula now blocking the door as well. John has gone into the Blade Storm. Spike is down for a 5v5. Cosmic Divide is going to make its way through right down the middle, north to south of the site. Flossy good for one. John responds. Looks for the second right click. Not going to be there. Denya's operator keeps it even at a 3v3. Retake is all going to be from the front or through tree. Denya wanted to go to a Blade Storm of their own, but denied as Bancroft catches him off guard. So now S2P threatening for a potential thrifty. As time is becoming a problem, Nerf is going to have to go pretty darn quickly. Danny's playing long. Sentry turret will reveal Nerf's position. Gravity Well comes out, but Bancroft doesn't miss a shot at long range. Sofa also there with them, and a thrifty confirmed. S2P now up 11-5.
Well, that's good for them in terms of moving on with the economy, and with it being 11-5, they're now just one round away from map point. And of course, if they win this map, then we will be heading over into map number 3, because it was SoaR who won our first one of Bind. difficult positioning there for SoaR to find themselves in, you know, especially when you've got attackers based down in Hell and also over on Long as well. It basically means if you want to jump down from Heaven or play from Heaven on a post plant, there's always someone that you can't see who's going to have LOS onto you. Well, now I want to see if S2P are going to be more aggressive, more forthcoming. It looks like that's going to be the way they want to play, straight into the run it back as well.
Run it back, Hunter's Fury exchange, neither finding a tremendous amount of value. The smokes are actually providing more of a distraction than anything else at the moment, as everyone's just trying to spam through it. Denya, good timing, finds Sofa. That's the spike carrier down for just a moment. Lockdown going to be placed from the attacker POV. 3v3 situation. Cryo wants to go quickly. Good patience, finds one. Will likely be detained by this if they can't get away. And John will actually double up, leaving Xander for a 1v2 situation. Definitely one that's still doable as far as going for it is concerned. Hailstorm will come out, but John from behind, never scouted. An S2P. They do find themselves on map point, and SoaR are going to be in the struggle bus. Trying to make some actual weapons appear here for this next round.
Well, they've managed to get a sort of a varied collection of stuff, but again, you know, when you're lacking money that much, it's not just about the weapons, it's about the armor as well, and that just makes you significantly more vulnerable. Also, look at the ultimates available. I mean, SoaR have none. You've got two on the side of S2P.
I'll handle this.
So straight away, they're going to be using the Dimensional Drift to try and collect some information, and the Hunter's Fury as well, also coming out at the same time.
Oh, but Cryo just walks right into the gravity well placed in the Nebula. Oh my goodness, the combination. Unbelievable. And it's another Dimensional Drift that only goes one direction. You never saw where Cryo was. He stayed away from the entire time. But Miniature, Danny, no way they do this again. Cryo right around the corner. Aldrin will be sent. That's not great. Timing the flash, very well done. Mini 1v1 situation. What in the world just happened? Cryo will get the classic out first, apparently. Quicker to the draw. That's an ace for Cryo. 3 with the judge, 2 with the classic. What did we just witness?
I'm not sure. I mean, the judge killed straight away, you know. I was so ready to just be like, yeah, you know, they've used the 2 ults and just waiting to see what happened off the back of that. Immediately, it's shotgun to the face. And then, you know, there was the whole thing with the owl drone. I get it. You want to be collecting the intel, which I definitely don't think is a bad thing, but it was very risky because of how far forward the SoaR was positioned to actually do that, and you could be really easily punished in that situation. Yeah, and then Cryo comes in with the classic, gets another 2 kills. Really, as far as rounds for SoaR goes, that was the best one they had this map.
Goodness, it felt like just a perfect storm of things going right, though. Now John clearing corners. No, doesn't get the better of Nerf. The right click never fully connects.
Portal closed.
So first blood, good for SoaR. Nanoswarm gets out. That will not do too much. Spike was still lingering back over towards long A. Miniature clearing some space mid, but SoaR defensively are actually in a pretty solid spot outside of the fact that Miniature slipped right through the net.
Yeah, and I mean, consider as well, S2P used both of their ultimates last round because they thought it was free. Well, now they have none. SoaR have 2. So suddenly, the sides have switched in that sense as well. SoaR aren't really rotating or changing their positioning too quickly here. They're not giving anything away. Spike is moving up B long, and they're gonna have to act on it now they're in the final 30 seconds.
And these gravity wells for both sides.
Scanning ahead.
Such deterrent. Recon bolt goes out. Xander falls, but Cryo finds one. Not going to get the second. Sofa finds the elimination. Spike will make its way on just in the nick of time to plant.
10 seconds
So
left.
3v3. Cosmic Divide has been placed defensively. Bancroft still staying on the backside of this. Timing is everything for them. One shot to Bossy was all that was required. He must have been tagged up from that gunfight mid-map. And so now it's a 2v2. Cosmic Divide will dissipate. Sofa holding close.
One enemy remaining.
Peeks the Cloudburst tosser of Denya. Loses the gunfight, but on the opposite side, Danny able to turn it back into a 1v1. Recon Bolt still being held onto. That's going to find some value.
There they are.
Hitting into Cloudburst for now. There's the peek, but Denya! What in the world?
Wow.
Through the Cloudburst. finds the shot on the Danny somehow, some way, and SoaR still alive.
Kind of brutal as well, given that Danny, he had just reconned. He knew the exact position of Denya. Yeah, Denya still getting that shot. That was actually quite entertaining and quite impressive there. So
Wow.
SoaR suddenly finding a second wind, and being able to haul themselves back into the competition. I suppose when it comes to here on Ascent, they're still lagging behind, and it's still match point for S2P. That's not going to change. So they can't let up. Despite the fact they've been doing well, they can't let up. But their economy is looking okay now, and they've actually got real weapons.
S2P on a bit of a thrifty. Miniature will find first blood by way of Guardian. That's actually in the middle of the map. Everything else was Sheriffs. You heard that coming through. Spike will now rotate out. 5v4 situation. You also have Xander tagged down to below half HP. So there definitely is an opportunity. This would be such a weird way to win this map. Miniature going to make a play with the Dimensional Drift, just checking to make sure no one's hiding outside in the wine cellar. Now on this site they go. Commits to it. Nerf finds the first kill. Where's the help? It's just not there. Bossy finds the second. They get a look at one player on top of site. That's going to be John. So he's isolated completely. You've already got the one player in the back of Bancroft tagged up heavily, and interesting call to pull out the Dimensional Drift and then commit to it still, I think, is the bigger problem.
Yeah, you know, he brought out the Dimensional Drift. You could see he was checking every single corner, which is really nice. Love to see it. You're obviously going to be sending that information over to the rest of your team, pretty much all of whom are bunched up on A long as well. But then you decide you're going to commit to the Dimensional Drift, just appear in the middle of the site that is obviously contested by the defenders, and no one on your team is there to help you out.
The only thing that could have happened, and it may have been hard for us to see, was that there was a gravity well inside that nebula. That's the only thing I could think of.
In which case, I will reluctantly forgive, but we'll never find out.
We'll never know. We'll have to watch the VOD. Now a quick take from S2P. John up top is able to find first blood. Vibe will go down offensively, but Nerf still, before it fully envelops the site, will find a response. So 4v4, you have the ability to retake with a bit of help from the run it back, but Bossy is nowhere near this play. It's going to take him a while to get here as well. You also have defensively a Hunter's Fury to use, but the same is shared for S2P. And it's going to be, oh my goodness, lightning battles. And Cryo's going to be able to win it. Okay, so SoaR defensively making their play forward. Run it back's going to stoke up both players information-wise underneath. Nerf trying to make a play forward, but no, Sofa denies. 2 kills for them. Nova Pulse comes out, will not connect. Xander, 50 HP. Not a great curveball. Second one will be a bit better. Tries to make the play down low, but it was not clean on retake. And S2P will find themselves a 13-8 of their own. And